What up, shit? Tim is here. Here's my throwback segment where I talk about the films that turns 10 and 20 this week. Alright, the films turning 10, we of course got The Bourne Legacy, which I guess you could say not really much of a reboot, but more like a follow to the other Bourne films. This time around, this is the only Bourne movie to not star Matt Damon. Instead, you've got Jeremy Renner, who pretty much plays the role of Aaron Cross, who becomes one of Outcome's six agents here. And of course, you have Rachel Weisz, Jeremy Renner. I was say right. Ed Norton was also in this. I mean, it's not as good as the other Bourne films, but I had a fun time with it. I mean, it's still a shame we never really got to see that Matt Damon, Jeremy Renner team up here, but it was a really decent flick. And of course, a few years after this, we will get another Bourne movie with Matt Damon, Jason Bourne, which could have been a little better. But the Bourne Legacy is a really fun, entertaining one. Some really cool action-packed moments. I mean, not a bad flick here. And top off, it's directed by Tony Gilroy, who's also one of the directors of the upcoming Andor series. So there's that. All right. Also turning 10, we got the Will Ferrell comic classic, The Campaign. Now, this movie is pretty much like a election-based comedy starring Will Ferrell, who plays Congressman Cam Brady, who commits to a major gaffe where like two wealthy CEOs decide to try to gain influence in their district by pulling up a rival candidate. And their unlikely choice is this tourism director named Marty Higgins, played by Zach Galifianakis. And he's, of course, aided by his family's political connections and a cutthroat campaign manager here. And it's a really fun film. You know, it's directed by Jay Roach, who's directed stuff like he did do Recount, and he's done some political films, but he also done comedies like Austin Powers, Meet the Parents, and all. He's done some really cool work here. And you also got some really fun supporting players who pops up as well. You have the likes of, I believe Dylan McDermott was in this, if I'm not mistaken. You had Dan Aykroyd, John Goodman pops up, Jason Statham. Really fun film if you guys never seen it. I mean, I remember watching this one of theirs. I was laughing myself silly. Really fun flick. All right, we also got Hope Springs, which is from the same director, Molly and May. And of course, Devil Wears Prada as well. We're like longtime married couple, Kay played by Meryl Streep and Anna played by Tom Lee Jones. Their love for each other, they still love each other, but after so many years together, Kay, feels the need to pretty much spice things up and reconnect with her husband. And their marriage counselor here is played by Steve Carell, who is in town of the Great Hope Springs, and he manages to pursue a stubborn mate to attend a retreat with her here. And this is a weird, odd film. I mean, let me just say, this movie literally features something that I have never thought I ever want to see in a film. Meryl Streep going down on Tom Lee Jones. Yeah, that's something I never ever thought I wanted to see, but okay, I mean, that's an odd moment. But, hey, I love Meryl Streep, one of the greatest actors of all time. You have Tom Lee Jones, who's always great. It's a really cute, charming film. I mean, you don't really see, like, it's always cool seeing movies with, like, older couples, stuff like that. And Meryl Streep and Tom Lee Jones both had a really good chemistry with one another, so not a bad little film. All right. Now, turning 20 here, holy cow. We, of course, got Triple XXX, which, of course, is the first installment of the Triple X franchise starring Vin Diesel. I mean, Fast and Furious is not Vin Diesel's only action franchise. Of course, he does got the Triple X movies, except he was not in the second one, that one. For some reason, they thought it was a good idea to replace Vin Diesel with Ice Cube, which I love Ice Cube, but that Triple X movie was horrible. But anyway, of course, here you got Samuel L. Jackson, Asia Argento. If you guys don't know much about the first Triple X, you got Vin Diesel, who stars as former extreme sport athlete Xander Cage, who is notorious for his death-defying public stunts, and Xander is recruited by NSA agent Gibbons, played by Jackson, to become a different kind of undercover agent. and he lists for like a dangerous cover mission. He must use all his extreme skills to combat a clever, organized, and ruthless enemy here. I mean, the first Triple X is a fun flick. I mean, of course, this movie got released about a year after Vin Diesel gave us the first Fast and Furious movie. This was from the same director of the first Fast and Furious movie, Rob Cohen, so there's that. I mean, the first Triple X is a fun, entertaining one. It is a really fun thrill ride. And there's, of course, Vin Diesel would reprise on the role like decades later with Return of the Cage. Still talks about a fourth one, but yeah, they've been talking trying to get another Riddick movie off the ground for years. I mean, yeah, I think if the name doesn't have Fast and Furious in the title, it's always hard to actually get around Vin Diesel's franchise schedule. So yeah, all right. Also turning 20, we got Spy Kids 2, The Island of Lost Dreams. Of course, the follow to the first Spy Kids movie, which, of course, the first Spy Kids actually got released a year beforehand, and then the third one would get released like a year after. So they really spaced these out in between. Spy Kids 2 is a really fun, entertaining one. I mean, of course, you got Robert Rodriguez once again back as the director's chair. You got Alexa Vega and Derek Sabara on both of this. I mean, hey, if you want to feel really old, just think about this. The two young kids from Spy Kids are now parents. Yeah, I mean, Alexa Vega, of course, has a kid with a big time Rush dude called Penn, I think his name is, and of course, Derek Sabara has kids with Mega Trainer. So, yeah, just thought you guys want to feel a little old there. Of course, you also had Antonio Banderas popping up, Danny Trejo as Machete, which I still always find so weird that it is in a kids movie, but yeah. Of course, you had Emily Osment popping up, Matt O'Leary. I mean, Spy Kids 2 is a really cool one. Of course, it had a really cool music at the end too. Yeah, I mean, Las Vegas was a really cool singer. I mean, it's a shame she doesn't do music, Holly music anymore, but this is a really cool one. I mean, I've always enjoyed the Spy Kids franchise, and glad that Netflix is doing a reboot of it, so you can see how that turns out. But yeah, Lost Dreams is a really interesting installment. All right. Other stuff, 2020, we got the Jennifer Aniston movie, The Good Girl, which of course has Jennifer Aniston, Jake Gyllenhaal, which was really this little film. Clint Eastwood's film Blood Work, where he also directs and stars in the film, and where he plays this FBI profiler, Terry McCallum, who was hot on the trail of the code killer when like a heart attack puts him out of his commission. And heart transplant later, Terry spends his time in the harbor on his houseboat here, and he ends up investigating the facts surrounding his transplant. And his donor was also a murder victim, and the murder is also still solved. And so he ends up having help from his seaside neighbor buddy, played by Jeff Daniels here. It is a really this movie got released in 2002, and I believe Clint Eastwood was. I don't know how old was he. I think he was probably in the 70s or maybe 60s when he did this movie. The guy still has it. I mean, he's now literally. How old is Clint Eastwood again? Oh, let me check. Clint Eastwood age. Yeah, the guy's literally 92, and he just had a Crime Macho last year. The guy just doesn't slow down at all. I mean, I believe Crime Macho is his last movie, but hey, kudos to Clint. He is still an icon. But as for The Good Girl, you guys don't know much about this one. Here you got Jennifer Aniston plays Justine, who is like this good girl who's just like a 30-year-old and working in a Texas discount store. And she is also dissatisfied by her routine and disgusted by her lazy pop smoking husband. And her life is nearly at standstill until she suddenly notices Holden, played by Jake Gyllenhaal, and a few cash wretches away, and he is also young and seemingly disaffected as she, and together they forge a passive connection. And thus, I mean, The Good Girl is a really decent little indie film. Of course, at the time, Jennifer Aniston, I believe she was still having friends at the time. I believe that didn't end until 2004. So she was really trying to branch out into the film world. And this movie, by the way, also had the likes of Mike White. You had John C. Raleigh, Deborah Rush. I mean, really nice little film if you guys never seen it. Directed by Miguel Arteta, who's done some really cool movies over the years. So really decent film if you guys haven't checked this one out. But let me let you guys, which of these films stand out to you the most? The 10-year one is pretty much going to be The Campaign. That movie was really funny. And the 20-year one, I'm going to go with Triple X. Drop comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell for notification. This is Simmy signing.